Batman and Deadpool are crossing over. We have the details now. DC and Marvel came out and officially announced it. We knew months ago. They came out and announced that they were going to be doing a crossover. We just didn't know what characters, creative teams. Now we know the characters and we know the creative teams, but there are still things yet to be revealed. But it is going to be in September. It's going to be Batman and Deadpool. They're each going to be doing their own one-shots. For the Marvel side, the creative team is Zeb Wells and Greg Capullo. For the DC side, it will be Grant Morrison and Dan Mora. I think the artists are both great picks. The writers, I'm not really that confident in. Zeb Wells wrote one of the most just bashed Spider-Man runs of all time. People weren't the biggest fan of his Spider-Man run. I read a few issues of it, didn't personally care for it myself. Don't get why he got rewarded with the Marvel DC crossover for it. Grant Morrison used to be able to write good comics like 15 years ago. It's been a while for me since I've read a Grant Morrison comic that I really enjoyed. So maybe he still got it in him. I don't know. We'll see. Also, he's not the guy to me that screams, who could write a good good DC, Batman Deadpool crossover? Grant Morrison. That's not who comes to mind for me. So I'm just kind of perplexed. Also, it's really weird because, well, we'll get into the article. I'll pull up some quotes. But in the article, they talk about how they want to revive the industry and get people excited again, get people back into comics. Like, oh, so you're bringing Grant Morrison in, a guy who in this article talks about how he seldom writes comics anymore, and Zeb Wells, a guy who's not very liked by the comic book reading community. It's like, why wouldn't you get some mainstays or some people that are like real good right now that people like? Why wouldn't you get like a Philip Kennedy Johnson or a Jeremy Adams or like something that's like, here's someone that's big right now that people are enjoying, that are writing a lot of comics. These creative teams baffle me. Again, I think the artists are great picks, especially Dan Mora. Dan Mora, it 110% makes sense that he is on here. He is the biggest artist right now in comics. He's a dude to see everywhere, and for good reason. He's great. He seems to be the only guy that can actually consistently churn out art, too, as far as big artists go. So great picks there, getting Dan Mora and Greg Capullo. But also, again, Greg Capullo, I think he's a great pick. I think he's a great artist, but another guy that doesn't do a whole lot, so it's weird to be like, hey, come back for comics. You like Greg Capullo? Well, he's not doing a whole lot, but you can read him do this Batman Deadpool crossover. So that kind of baffles me a little bit, but let's get into the details we got for this. So it says, the story kicking off this September 17th tells us how Wade Wilson is hired for a job in Gotham City that puts him in the crosshairs of the world's greatest detective. Accompanying the main one-shot will be a lineup of backup adventures that features exciting Marvel and DC character matchups. It also says a citywide threat from the Joker makes strange bedfellows, is what Zeb Wells said. So it seems that Deadpool's going to be in Gotham for some contract. He's doing something, and then Joker causes some mayhem, so Deadpool and Batman got to team up. Obviously, it's going to be a lot of hardy har. Look at how annoying Deadpool is to Batman. Look at how annoyed Batman is by Deadpool. I feel like there's so many more interesting matchups than these two. They talk about deciding the right combination, but they say so. Jim Lee said deciding the right combination was a constant flurry of emails. It's not just two people, it's groups of people. So yeah, the conversation tends to be very robust and long. And then Buckley, who's the guy from Marvel, says, it just felt like a fun combo. I'll be quite frank, it was nothing more complicated than that. Like Deadpool hanging out with Batman, there's a lot of levity to be had in there, a lot of fun, but also be a little bit uber violent at the same time. Our big thing is we want to do something that is a lot of fun, showcase comics, generate excitement, and bring new readers or lapsed readers back into the industry. That's where the writers really baffle me, because it's talking about, like, we're trying to get people excited about comics again. So you get one guy that's hated by comics fans, you get another guy that hardly writes any comics anymore. So it's kind of odd choices there. And also, it's not some like, oh man, we're just trying to think of the funnest matchups. We're just trying. No, it's literally DC came to the table and said, hey, we have one character here at DC Comics, and that is Batman. No one else exists. And then Marvel came to the table and was like, we've got Spider-Man, and who was our last movie to make $1 billion? Because our movies haven't been doing so great lately. Oh, Deadpool and Wolverine made $1 billion. Let's throw Deadpool in there. Okay, Deadpool's popular right now. And that was it. That was how it went. And they're like, who's your most popular villain? Oh, Joker. Okay, we'll have him go up against Joker. We'll just throw the most popular characters we can in there. And that was essentially it. It wasn't some like, oh man, it was a long strain of emails just day and night trying to figure out who should we really put in this crossover. No. It was just, hey, we've got Batman. oh, Deadpool was the last of ours to make $1 billion. You know, MCU's been going downhill for a while now. Characters aren't really making a whole lot of money anymore now that, you know, the big ones like Iron Man, Cap are gone. So we'll just throw Deadpool in there. Deadpool's still popular. And that was it. And I am wondering who's going to be the backup adventures and what the creative teams are going to be for that. I don't think they've said what the page count of the one shot is going to be. So I don't know how big these backups are, how many they're going to be. But I am imagining there's going to be some backups where I'm like, oh man, this should have been the main story. They also announced that this is not going to be the last Marvel and DC crossover. There's another one in 2026, which is pretty funny because in the beginning of the article, Jim Lee says the timing has to be right and that you don't want to do these too often. You want them to feel special. And then at the end, they announced, hey, we're doing another one next year. It's because he's like, yeah, you know, these things are special and there's a reason we only do them every like 20 years. We do them like once for each generation of readers. You know, it's been a while. And now they're like, hey, another one next year. So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. It's cool that DC and Marvel are teaming up. I'm much more excited for whatever the backup stories are going to be because Batman and Deadpool just is not an interesting combo to me. I don't care. It's like, yeah, we got the funny guy and the straight guy. That's what it's going to be. It's going to be like, here's the goofy gabber dude, then here's the like, I take everything seriously, and that's going to be it. That's what it's going to be. And again, if it was like 15 years ago, I'd maybe be excited for Grant Morrison, but Grant Morrison, I haven't really read anything of his that I've enjoyed in a long time. He wrote a horrific Superman story when he wrote that, his last Superman story, and then his Green Lantern run was incredibly weird and definitely not my cup of tea. And those are the last two things I remember reading of his. So he has written some amazing comics, obviously, but as of late, which is what comics is, it's a what have you done for me lately, he hasn't done much for me personally. Maybe there are some other comics I haven't read of his that are just amazing. They'll blow your socks off that he's done in the past like 5 years. But for me personally, from what I've read of his, not too great lately. And then Zeb Wells is Zeb Wells. And it's hilarious in the article. They try to pump him up. The guy from Marvel, like the president of whatever at Marvel, is like, you know, every time I read something from Zeb Wells, it's equally funny and heartfelt and amazing and blah, blah. It's so good. It's like, have you ever looked at fan feedback to a Spider-Man comics ever? No one liked what he was doing. That's crazy. It's like, you wrote a garbage run on Spider-Man. Here's your reward. The first Marvel and DC team up since like, what, 2003? Here you go. It's weird, but I hope it's good. I hope it's amazing and it does bring back comic readers and people are excited. And I hope that they're smart and they include like, DC has done pretty well with the Superman marketing for the Superman movie and including mentions to the comics. I hope that we get some of that with whatever Marvel and DC projects are coming to the big screen or the small screen. Whatever they're doing, they need to be like, hey, also there's Marvel DC crossover coming out. Get people excited. Advertise this. That's how you do it, because if you're just advertising to comic readers, to people that are already reading comics, then you're not really going to branch out at all, and you're not going to get those people back that you were talking about that you wanted. So we'll see how it goes. But again, I think Dan Mora was the smartest part about all this. Was getting Dan Mora was the smartest play. But I'm so confused by by the choices of the creative teams. And the characters I'm not confused by because, again, they're both incredibly popular. I'm more disappointed that we didn't get a more interesting matchup. I feel like you could do something cooler than this. But hey, at least we got some details. I'm excited for whatever the backup stories are. And hopefully whenever they reveal the details for the 2026 one, it's something more interesting and something more out there maybe. I don't know. Or maybe a bigger story too. Maybe it's not just... or I think they already said it was one-shots, but it would be cool if it wasn't just, you know, here's a one-shot, but maybe like a bigger story or something. If they put out like a hardcover, if they're like, here's like a 150-page, 200-page, whatever, something like that, hardcover Marvel DC crossover, it'd be like, ooh, and we got some amazing talent on it, it'd be like, ooh. Obviously, they won't do that. That's too much effort, but that would be cool. Yeah, so we'll see where it goes. Anyways, I want to hear from you guys in the comments below. What do you think of all of this? I'm really interested to hear what you guys think of all this Marvel DC stuff with the Batman, Deadpool. So yeah, let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see y'all later.
Hey, skinny boy, saucy boy, I be running to the bank. Yeah, you know I hit the gas in the whip full tank. Riding past the ocean while I'm listening to Frank.